right, it looks like we are back here after our lunch break. We just had round 3. Now we're going into round 4. And I see a purple Luffy leader down there.
Oh, that makes me excited because that's a deck. Purple Movie, I think, has I think people would probably call it a rogue deck if you use that term in this meta right now. It's probably not a tier 1 deck. Everyone's thinking of Lucci and Law and Black Yellow Luffy and Gecko and others, but it is a deck that can really steamroll your opponent if you are not prepared for just how quickly they can ramp up the Don compared to your side. So wait to see what Trap Queen is the one with the purple Luffy leader. Wait to see what Sir Juan's leader is for this round 4 matchup.
Yeah, purple Luffy's always really fun to play with. I don't know if it's that fun to play against because you just get a bunch of 9-drop Kaidos shoved down your face.
No, for sure. It gets better in future sets as well, right? With some of the let's be polite, Jeremy. Let's say very powerful purple cards that are coming in the next set. Not gonna say overpowered, not gonna say busted, just very powerful purple characters coming out next set. The purple Luffy, you can even potentially try to get like back-to-back 9-drop Kaidos if you can make it work. But I think you need one turn in between. But yeah, basically for anyone who doesn't know, purple Luffy has a 5-life leader that as long as you have, if you don't have 0 or what it basically you can't use its ability turn 1. You can't have 1 or 2 Don essentially.
No, you're thinking of the red purple, right? This one is
no,
you take a
yeah.
take a life,
you
you
use it turn
get a
1.
Don. Oh yeah, you don't really want to.
I know. I'm saying like you're literally not allowed to.
Oh,
Is also the thing. Yeah, and then red purple Luffy has his own weird less than 3 or more than 8 or whatever. But yes,
yeah.
this purple Luffy, besides turn 1, take the top card of your life and gain 1 Don, and that really you think, oh, what's the reward for that? I'm getting myself closer to losing the game, but actually you're ramping up significantly higher because you can play 5-cost characters when you're only supposed to have 4 Don. You can play 8-cost characters when you're only supposed to have 6 or 7 if you use it back-to-back turns, right? So you can get into situations where your opponent is potentially 2 or 3 Don behind the curve that you're on, so you're playing significantly stronger characters than they're able to.
Yeah, it is something that was popular when it first came out, kind of dominated for a little bit. But again, just newer, better cards kept coming out. The purple support really has been geared more towards red purple law in the past couple sets. So it's good to see Monkey.D.Luffy trying to stick it out there. And it looks like going first didn't do anything, but we got a stage in his lobby for this Rob Lucci that Trap Queen's playing against in Sir Juan.
That's definitely very important for the Lucci leader because since Luffy's going to be playing characters that are higher costed than you because he has more Don available, the Ennis lobbies every turn being able to lower their cost by 2 is going to help out a lot. There is the ulti, which is the ulti page 1 package. That is the bread and butter combo of purple Luffy getting 2 characters out for the price of 1.
Yeah, it's going to force Sir Juan to work that much harder for each of these potential KOs that they have available to him. But having that stage is step 1. That means you got a guaranteed -2 each turn, -3 with the leader ability. So hopefully these will be easy pickings. But wow, discards Gecko Moria and Isho off the top.
Oh wow, that's black text giveth and taketh on the on there, right? Sometimes you'll trash a Helmeppo or maybe a Kaku or something. You're not too hung up on it, but Isho and Gecko, that is definitely not what Sir Juan wanted to see. As they play down the Brook with the combination of Lucci plus Innis Lobbies plus on play Brook ability, that brings the page 1 down to 0 cost for the KO. So at least Sir Juan has dealt with one of those threats Trap Queen was able to play out at the same time.
Yeah, still kind of breaking even here. The Brook is going to hopefully be a continual source of that KO potential, and you can even get rid of the ulti the next turn with the same combination. And we're gonna have 6 to the leader here. It's an easy counter out with that 2K Kaku. Now 5.
5 from the Luffy there. Shows he has 5 Don remaining. So if I'm the Lucci player, I'm expecting potential, captain, kid blocker, the 5 cost purple character. There's a reason that you're not attaching any Don onto the Luffy.
All right, how about a Magellan to throw their opponent off the curve? Now Magellan, when it comes into play, minus a Don, and your opponent minuses a Don. So keeping this Rob Lucci to 5 instead of 6 limits a little bit of the plays, but more importantly, that means something like that 8 cost Sabo, 8 cost Gecko Moria, Isho, whatever you're playing, is not going to be available next turn.
Yeah, they're one turn further away, and that's the other thing that Purple Luffy can do is that the -1 Don from the Magellan on their own end is not as detrimental since they have ways of regaining the Don on their side, where a deck like a black deck like this Lucci does not have ways of regaining it. So you're gonna have to wait to play those Geckos or Ishos or potential, Stussy something later on. Magellan also, if it's a character that is really tough to get off the board, not because it's hard to kill, Jeremy, but because you kind of don't want to kill it, because on KO it also minuses one of your opponent's Don yet again. So it's kind of a free 6K swing you can have every turn if your opponent doesn't want to sacrifice their Don.
Yeah, there's no Hound Blazes or bottom decking here for something like a Rob Lucci. Does clear that ulti, and here we see a Rebecca grabbing, I think, the 2K Kaku to the hand, and no play from Sir Juan. So a very lackluster Rebecca, but you got to do what you got to do with that 5 Don.
Yeah, at least you do gain the counter back in hand for a potential swing later on, but should be at 7 Don right now. Yeah, we can see the 3 left over on Trap Queen's end. So 7 we don't know what's in their hand, but you can try to attach 1 to the Magellan, have a 7K swing, and maybe a 6K Luffy, and then play the blocker kid. Or if Trap Queen is playing the 7 cost kid, that boosts your Dama-1, boosts your leader's strength for the next turn by 1,000 power. There's a lot of options that Trap Queen has available this turn.
Yeah, there's also something like a poly play, which with the Dawn separated 5-2 could also be a big option. Right. Try to get rid of the Rebecca or the Brook. But we're going to start off with this 6K swing to the Brook, and Sir Juan's going to let it go.
Yeah, 6 into 4 would have cost 2 cards in hand to counter out of. So Sir Juan not valuing it. Then the Rebecca goes down. This does give Trap Queen more flexibility. Now you don't have to play Poly to KO the Rebecca, since Rebecca sacrificed itself anyway from the Luffy swing.
Yeah, you have 5. You could play another Magellan if you have it. Queen, Kid, like you said, a lot of options. And wow, this Magellan is just going to keep things going. And now Sir Juan's down to 6 Dawn. Is there a third Magellan coming out somewhere? I want to wait for that.
I'll tell you, sometimes it feels almost dirty when you play when you play Purple Luffy and you can play Magellan 3 turns in a row while still destroying your opponent's board. He was able to completely clear it on that turn, KO the Brook, and use the Rebecca to block there. So Sir Juan is now a full turn behind on the Don, essentially, since he's been Don minus twice. And of course, as long as you don't want to target into those Magellans to KO them, those are free 6K swings that Trap Queen can use every turn at the cost. Because Sir Juan maybe you wait till your 10 Don turn, you swing into it, so you go down to 8. But for a while, those cards feel very safe.
Well, there is a swing with Lucci, gets blocked. I think the swing was into the Magellan, so the page 1 easy enough to get that attack prevented. And we saw the 5 drop Monkey.D.Luffy definitely in here as kind of a tech for Nell and just bigger bodies in general. But now Trap Queen Shaping up that Dawn yet again. If we see 5 by itself, it's a Magellan. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, he's got 8, so you can do a 5+3 play. Ideally, you don't really play too many cards in that mid-range area, the 6, 7, 8, because you want to have 9 for Kaido or 5 for the Magellans and kids. So attaching 2 Don each here, giving you free 2 solid 7K swings, means that Sir Juan has to dump 2 cards out of their hand in order to not take any life. You could argue it's probably not the end of the world to take a life on this turn, just to have a couple more options, since you did trash one of your Ishos and Gecko on the first turn or on the second turn of the game, technically, that you might just want a life just to see, as you're getting more Don on the next turn, you have more options.
And there's 6K. There's 5 Dawn left, Joe. I think it might be another. Oh, okay. We got a kid. It's still
That's okay.
bad for Sir Juan, but it's at least better than it could have been.
Well,
and now we're finally at 8 Dawn.
I'm gonna say that's all right, because you can just play Kaido next turn and regain the Don from Kid. So definitely a proactive use of the Kid on this turn. One, as a potential blocker, since Sir Juan does not have many bodies on the board, you can block with Kid and sacrifice counter to keep it alive. But then the next turn, if you have a Magellan or a Kaido or some of these other, even a blocker Law, right, the 4-cost blocker, other ways of Don -1, which there's so many ways of doing that in the Purple Luffy deck, you can freely regain that active Don thanks to the Kid.
Taking a look at Sir Juan's hand, I couldn't really make out too much, but using a Dawn on the active leader maybe kind of signals that there's not going to be a big Gecko play this turn.
And this lobby was put onto one of the Magellans as well.
Yeah, the one turned the wrong way.
Yeah, I agree. All my cards have to be they have to be tapped in the same direction. If they're facing each other, there's a problem.
Looks like 6 into lead, blocked with that 2K. Gonna 1 for Spandam here.
At minimum,
5 left over.
Right, you would need 4 for Lucci or 5 for Kaku, if those are your 2 ways of KOing. Unless you have a 3-cost Brook in hand, you're going to need to find a way to lower the Magellan 1 more cost to get it down to 0. But
so you don't get the effect. I don't get the effect, right? No.
Looks like Monkey.D.Luffy is gonna shuffle back or put back in just the Isho and the Gecko that were lost from the first discard, and then a Sabo gonna gain that extra power, and now it's minus Dawn. Did Sir Juan minus a Dawn?
I was gonna say, did the Luffy swing into the Magellan that was minused on that turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, it appears like Sir Juan still has the same amount of Don as he started that swing with. So
yeah, so you can minus the Dawn from the Lucci leader, but we would need to get that taken care of.
Right, yeah, because on Magellan on KO is your opponent minuses 1 Don there. So it might have been something that it's been a while since Purple Luffy's been in the meta. Might not be remembering there's really not many decks in general that use Magellan. So could be an unfamiliar interaction.
Oh, Luffy trashed the Magellan, that's what it was. So you don't minus the Dawn.
Oh, there you go. Okay, right. Trash gets around on KO. So that's one of the benefits that Black would have in this matchup compared to some of the other colors that can only KO things. Is that Trash in one of those weird scenarios, even though they're doing the same thing, they're both ending up in the trash. Trashing a card and KOing a card are not, the same interaction.
Yeah, and then we saw the Tempest kick there, -3 to the Kid, and then the Lucci played to get rid of the Kid. So the board that Trap Green's been building up, starting to will away, but Now you get that Kaido.
That's huge. 9 cost. Kaido has rush. Cost you 6 Don, and you don't have the blocker kit on the field anymore for Trap Queen to be able to regain an active Don. That's usually one of the best ways to do it, because then you can swing 5 with Luffy. If you had that extra Don, swing 5 with Luffy, attach 1 to Magellan here, swing 7 with Magellan, and then rush in with Kaido afterwards.
That's what I was worried about. Like,
Well, Magellan's swinging for 7. Sir Juan takes. And then it seems like the Kaido into the Luffy. And now Sir Juan left with no board yet again. And he's going to have to stare down this Magellan and Kaido.
It's a tough call for Sir Juan. Do you spend all of your maybe a Tempest Kick plus Ennis Lobbies and Lucci leader ability trying to get the Kaido down, or do you try to swing into it, attaching Don to Lucci as your only attacker this turn? Since you can see Trap Queen only has 3 cards in hand on their side. However, Purple Luffy is notorious for the amount of 2Ks that they run in that deck. So you'd probably have to swing at minimum 11, maybe 13 into the Kaido to guarantee its KO. But then if you're attaching that much Don to your leader, that's effectively your entire turn that you're putting down, besides maybe playing a 4-cost Rebecca in addition.
Sir Juan's definitely deep in the tank here. Full 10 Don available to him. Still, just it's got to be hard staring down that board. Just the pest that Magellan has been. Just easy 7K swings for the past couple turns. And of course, Purple Luffy is just known for that 9-drop Kaido.
Right, and the Luffy, I mean, it's taken 2 of its own life and still has 2 life remaining, which means Sir Juan's only only successfully landed 1 attack into the Luffy leader. So it just feels like Trap Queen has really been in strong control for the majority of this game. Has the board advantage, has the life advantage 2-1 currently as well.
You always know it's coming down to the wire when you get the finger math going.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't want to place your Don out in the way you want to do it, because it like tells your opponent, like, if you put in if you put 8 and 2 on one side, you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe a Gecko and then 2 other Don are left over. Sometimes you just want to do a quick little finger math. You do at minimum have 3 Don minus currently on the field that does not cost any Don. That would be the 2 from Ennie's Lobby and 1 from the Lucci leader. So a Tempest Kick would get Kaido down to 3, and then you would have enough Don remaining for Kaku to pick up that KO, barring that you have enough CP characters in your trash to do it. But it looks like that Ennie's Lobby is going to be targeted down towards the Magellan instead.
Let me see. What is that? 5 Don taken to the side. Swing 5 into life, minus 1 to the Magellan. The page 1 counters the attack. 5 and 5, full Don. There is Sabo.
Trying to reach, maybe trying to get a Kaku out of the 2 cards that you draw.
This card was Isho. Something else, I believe.
Trap Queen does have to feel comfortable that now that they've committed so much into the Magellan, maybe trying to trash Magellan again on this turn instead of activating the KO, that your big body Kaido is very likely to make it through this turn, since there's no attacks coming in its direction.
Yeah, I think maybe we're going to see a Kaku on the Magellan here. That might be the only play for Sir Juan right now. And you'd have to hope that you have enough counter power, but I don't think... Well, I guess with the blocker, you're fine.
You have 1 blocker, so yeah, Sabo would stop Kaido, and then Trap Queen currently does not have enough Don to play another Kaido next turn, so you wouldn't have to deal with any other rush characters. So if you get rid of this Magellan at the cost of your Don, there still is only 2 attacks from Trap Queen. There is the Kaku.
All right, this at least takes the essential game off the board for Trap Queen, and might see a couple more turns now.
Trap Queen's going to go up to 7 Don on this turn. You can, in an emergency, if you feel like Trap Queen feels like they have to win the game this turn, you can take your own life. That's a very common strategy for Purple Luffy players. Even when they're at 1 life left, if they think they have to go for game that turn, you can take the life just to gain the extra Don, go up to 8 Don on this turn. Looks like it's going to be a 7k swing at life.
Yeah, take that. Hope this blocker sticks around, but with Sapo's effect, you know it's gonna, and then blocks, and there is that 5-drop blocker kid yet again.
Next turn, Trap Queen will be at 9 Don. If Kaido is in hand, there are only 2. So there are only 2 cards in Trap Queen's hand, which is usually a tough spot for Purple Luffy players. They can have access to Gekon Gatling, which is the 0-cost event. Trash card, gain 3,000 power. But some of these swings can actually go through, force your kid to actually block, or Sir Juan can spend this turn trying to KO the kid so you never actually regain that active Don the following turn.
Yeah, Sir Juan also needs to either deal with that Kaido and maybe even drop a blocker in play at the same time. It's a rough position when you have 6 cards in hand, but 3 of those don't have counter, and you have no life on board.
Looks like maybe this Lucci build could potentially not play Borsalinos, or maybe it only has 1 or 2 Borsalinos. So there's not a lot of low-cost blockers available for Lucci, the lowest being either Rebecca or Borsalino, which would cost 4 Don from your hand.
There is a Tempest Kick -3 to the Kaido. So now you're sitting with 6-cost Kaido and a 2-cost Kid.
In the spot, if you can try to fish, if you could fish for the second Tempest Kick that put Kaido down to 3 costs, which you would need Lucci swing from the leader to bring it down to 2.
Get kind of a gecko play going on and try to take the board down, but again, you need a blocker in play even if you do get rid of both of these characters.
Yeah, I think it's a 6 on the dice there to show that Kaido is, instead of having -3 Don, that he's currently a 6 cost. 9 Don still available for Lucci, so they kind of understand 0 life left. If they can't afford to KO the board and get a blocker on this turn, it could just be curtains for them. So a lot of back and forth decisions. We know there is a Lucci in hand. I saw the Alt-Art Lucci as one of Sir Juan's cards.
Lucci and a Rebecca. So the Rebecca is the blocker you need. You can get the Brook or Helmeppo, play them down.
Looks like 2 Lucci's also in the trash, 1 Brook. But then you gotta get him to 1 essentially to play Brook to get it down to 0 for the KO.
Yeah, this is definitely one of Sir Juan's last turns of the game, so this is very important. But he's thinking through all of their options.
It's also risky to just swing with Lucci to get that Don minus, because then Kid can just tap. If you know you're going to be KOing the Kid anyway, he can just block as a 6k into the 5k swing, and it negates your swing, and you put it onto a character you were trying to KO anyway. So I think Sir Juan's maybe trying to find how can they get some value out of their attacks for the turn, as well as KOing this blocker.
Yeah, I think they might be one short of getting rid of both.
60 durability.
We'll have to see what they decided, but 6 into Trap Queen's life. Minus is 1.
If
That was
there's
a quick
if there's
take.
a Tempest Kick, you can get it down to 2.
But if you Tempest Kick, you have no extra Dawn for
Oh, you only have 4 Dawn left.
Rebecca Lucci, yeah.
Yeah, like I can't remember.
Might be a
Well, so
spot.
if there's Helmeppo,
I was thinking you
Oh, no,
also
the
try
Kaku.
to get the 2K in your
Yeah,
hand,
it's
because
rusted.
Sir
Yeah.
Juan actually has a pretty valuable, or a much higher amount of cards in hand compared to Trap Queen. So it was like 5 to 3, and a lot of them have counter on them, besides the Rob Lucci.
Rob Lucci.
well, there's the Lucci. It KOs the Kaido, but leaves that Eustace Captain Kidd after minus 3 cost was invested into it. You do have a blocker in play, but you just got to rely on having enough in your hand. You do know there's a 2K in there.
Right. You can also swing with the blocker kid if Trap Queen wants to go for the game here. Like I said, they have 1 life remaining. Takes it on. Kaido KOs Rebecca, and you have no blockers. Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
pulled it from life.
Double 9-drop Kaido can do that for you. And just like
That's how
that,
the
Purple
Kaido's
Luffy,
about,
are
man. Play
they
whatever you want.
undefeated right now
Like, play
at the
whatever
end of
my
round
man
4?
wants.